right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of The Buff Show. Today we have District 3 candidate Kay Hoogland. Is that how you say your last name?
Hoogland, very Dutch.
Okay.
I love it.
Like
All
Roosevelt.
Right. There you go. Love it. Okay. Welcome to our show, and thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you all for inviting me, even you, Mr. Cameraman. No, thanks. It's a great opportunity to have a conversation versus, kind of the debate forums where it's just one question and one way.
Yeah.
So this is great. Thank you.
Well, we wanted to do this so people can get to know you, like your family life, your home life, what brought you to the Valley. So let's
Sure.
start out there. Tell us your background with the Valley and a little bit about you and your family.
Absolutely. I was born in Ogden on 34th Street, close to Washington Boulevard.
Yeah.
So it was a humble little pink house. My parents were able to buy a home, a newer home that they built right across from Weber State.
Oh, cool.
So I grew up with Weber State as my playground. It was a great place to cross the street and play on the big fields.
Yeah.
Now it's all built up. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I was there last week for something. I've been married for 40 years. I married a guy from Chicago, and we lived there after marriage for about 35 years. And we were blessed with two wonderful sons, and both my husband, both my sons, and I are lawyers. It runs in the family.
No way.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of our family is lawyers. Jim even has some judges on his side of the family.
Wow.
So it's very, very nice. I'm a dog owner, 2 dogs, not lawyers. I'm a homeowner in the Valley since 2002. We bought a condo even while living in Chicago. Full-time residence since 2016. And what brought me to the Valley, there's never been a time when I didn't go to the Valley. If you live in Ogden and are not privileged enough or know enough farming to live up there, when I was a kid in the 50s, 60s, that was the place families went for picnics, for fishing. And so been going up there for years, as had my mom, Evelyn Hoogland, and Marie Van Leeuwen, my grandmother, who arrived in 1905, a Dutch immigrant for the
wow.
church.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
so I heard stories about what the Valley was like when she'd go up to get artesian well water.
Yeah.
It was really neat. So yeah, I feel connected to the Valley very much so, beyond just my first fish I caught up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you moved around like within the Valley quite a bit?
No, we started with a condo,
Okay.
and then built a house.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, in the same Wolf Creek neighborhood.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about like what your hobbies and interests are.
I've really gotten into weightlifting.
Oh, cool.
I've always liked pumping iron.
Yeah.
But I realized I better pump that up a little bit when I broke some bones last year
Oh,
from
no.
a casual fall. And like most women my age, we have to work on strengthening our bones.
Yeah.
And so that's a hobby. Fitness has always been a hobby. I used to do triathlon and even did a half marathon. It was a half Ironman.
Oh, wow.
Very cool.
But I crossed the finish line with my dog, so I was disqualified.
Really?
Ironman has rigid rules.
That's crazy.
So
Did your dog do the whole race with you?
No, she was
Oh.
she was a little Jack Russell, and she was just there with my husband
For the
at the
finish
end.
line. Oh, my gosh.
And I was back of the pack.
Yeah.
This was not going to get me to Kona for
Yeah,
the
right.
championships.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to honor her by running across the finish line with her. And like I said, I then got a call from the officials later. Did you cross the finish line with your dog? I said, guilty as charged. Well, we have to take you off the roll. But I did the
You
race.
did the race.
Which
You
is
crossed
what
that
happens. I got the T-shirt.
There you go.
They can never
I
take that
did-
away from you.
I did the training, which I think is a large part
Oh,
of
for
doing any
sure,
of those
yeah.
races.
Did they take did you got a medal too? Did they take
I got
that
a
away?
medal. No.
That's good. It's just
Yeah.
if you wanted to like brag about your time, they're like,
Yeah.
it just went away.
I think, my time wasn't anything to brag about. I was just, once I got out of the swim,
Yeah.
which is always the hard part unless you were on a swim team, I thought, I've got this race, and I just had fun the rest of the time.
No, that's awesome.
And luckily, the swim, 1.2 miles, was in Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Which can be like huge surf, depending on the day. It was like glass.
Wow.
Nice.
I was so lucky.
That's awesome.
So I like fitness. I like races. Haven't had time to do a lot of those for the past year and a half, working on incorporation and stuff.
Yeah.
But I still try to work it in.
That's awesome. So do you have family? Do you have kids?
I have kids. As I mentioned, they're both lawyers.
Yeah.
One's married and in Phoenix.
Okay.
The other one is practicing law in San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
In international trade law, which sounds really fancy.
Yeah.
Not so fancy when you're doing it in your apartment remotely. That's what happens now. What else do I love to do? I love to do watercolors. I just picked that up within the last couple of years.
Oh, that's cool.
From an online course at the U, which is really relaxing and wonderful. And fly fishing and fly tying. And I haven't been able to fish for about a year because I've been busy.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I want to get out and do a lot more of when things settle down.
I haven't quite picked that up. There's a lot to fly fishing, though. I can normal fish, but that...
It's kind of like tying flies is my version of quilting.
Yeah.
So it's really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
like it.
cool.
Well, what made you decide to run for city council?
Boy. I actually remember the moment when I decided to run. It was in May, I think it was May 25, at about 8 p.m. I had done a lot of volunteer work invited by Nick Dahlkamp and other sponsors who actually needed more worker bees. So I jumped in as a worker bee and gradually worked more and more. I like working with volunteers and organizing volunteers. So I organized the volunteer effort of the petition drive, very much like being a team mom to teenagers, you know. How do you get the shifts done and who wants to go where? And then I was asked to be campaign manager because I'd had experience for campaigns. I knew how to do it. Other people were not confident or had the time to step up. And finally, Nick was begging, who will do this? And I just said, I can do it. I have a vacation plan, but I can figure it out. So part of my goal was also to teach others how to campaign. And so we had 20 plus volunteers who were working on this. And some of those people are now candidates, which is really cool. Yeah. I really enjoy it. So when I did all of this not thinking I'd run, or just, you know, it's always a possibility. You want to see, we had a fear that people would not sign up to run.
Yeah. And
so I remember when I finished the campaign and then got invited to the transition work, and in one of the sponsors' absence, he asked me to meet with the county on a variety of things. Our friend Mark Farron, who had been a sponsor, asked me, "Are you going to run?" And I actually said, I don't have any plans to. In my actual preference, I like mentoring and developing others. And my actual preference was, I hope we get the next generation of leaders to run because they will have a longer ramp to learn this and to practice this for not just one term, but multiple terms. So, you know, I saw as people were interested in being candidates, I saw we were getting a lot of candidates. What was delightful is our transition team, one of my tasks was to go out and recruit candidates. So we held, and I led 2 meetings, which encompassed all of the districts, to really give people encouragement, give them the basics in a PowerPoint presentation, and then to talk with them in circles, groups, by district. Why do I say I decided to run at one of those presentations. I was actually presenting a slide that talked about this is not going to be a normal office or cycle where you'll have stuff prepared by a staff and you just get to be wise and make a decision. It will be more than part-time, in many weeks more than full-time, plus there's a really steep learning curve. Mm-hmm. And so at the second presentation, I was doing that, and I realized, that's me. I'm retired, I have the time, and I've learned a ton. And even at that meeting, I sat not with my district when they had their breakouts. I sat with another district that needed more people.
Oh, interesting.
And I went home and told my husband, I think I have to run. And I should say, I think I get to run, but really it was service. And the city needs people who really had been learning the ropes and have the time.
So it sounds like you've been involved from the beginning. The beginning of the incorporation almost.
Almost. I was not a sponsor. In my understanding of how it happened, how the incorporation happened, you never know who has the brave and big idea. I have a favorite saying, actually from Motorola days. The legendary CEO Bob Galvin would always say, leaders take people where they're afraid to go alone. And Nick was new to the Valley, attending some of the county meetings that were more controversial and got people a little worked up. And he said, why don't we make our own city? I think he'd been there a year and a half. And that idea got momentum with others. They did go through a cycle of looking at some different sponsors who could be the named sponsors, and they settled with the wonderful group of sponsors, many of whom were prominent in the community and could kind of bring that endorsement. They worked ahead. They had gone through one petition drive, the first one to get the feasibility study. But then after that, in January, February, Nick and others realized the sponsors are great, but we need worker bees, people who will take an assignment, execute, come back to the table. So I was one of those ones. I had an interesting approach to incorporation. I was a skeptic, and I was a skeptic for a reason that I didn't know if we had the talent who could do the work.
Yeah.
Shame on me. Took me about 2 meetings and hearing what others were bringing to the table. I walked away saying that's the talent. So I went on, continued to do volunteer work delegated to me by the sponsor, did everything from designing posters, which actually I did get a little professional help. Brandy,
that's awesome.
Hammond's designer.
Andy.
He would always... Brandy would say, it's a good idea, but Andy can make it better.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of designing. I ran mics at meetings. I prepared PowerPoints for others to present happily.
That's awesome.
So, and then the sponsorship era was over in January. They had no more official duties, and actually Nick, being very foresightful and being a brilliant project manager, had started even before the election. Started in July of 24, and he handpicked a very small team to do preparation for setting up the city. In fact, at one of my early meetings with the sponsors, he said, can you start up the city? Can you research how to set it up? And I had an idea. You'd go and benchmark other cities and learn from their experiences. He went ahead and hit that plan starting in July of 24. I was running the campaign. There was an elite group of about 5 people with specific skill sets doing the planning. And then when I finished the campaign, he was kind enough to ask if I could join, certainly with all these volunteers and the wind behind us from a really successful campaign.
It's kind of cool to see because I I mean, unless you're like right there in the trenches, you don't really understand what's going in the background. But you have like the sponsor people that were like, hey, this is a big idea. Let's see if we can get it feasible. And I went to some of those early meetings and stuff like that. And that was a huge kind of deal within the valley. Are you pro incorporation or anti? And like the petitions and everything like that. And then the feasibility study. But it's been interesting because there's a lot of people that were involved in the beginning, and then like Mark Farron, where they're like, "Okay, we got it ready, but now it's ready for like other people to." So it's been cool to see like the different people involved, and there's been a lot like
leaders rise to the challenge.
Exactly,
and Valley people are talented beyond belief.
Yeah,
these people are constantly amazing to me. Just one volunteer who emerged to help with the financial planning for the new city. He prefers to be in the background, and he was actually anti-incorporation because he realized the financials were going to be hard.
Right.
But he may be unhappy about this, but I'll share his name because he deserves kudos. A gentleman named Ron Gleason. And Ron has an amazing affinity for research and understanding numbers. So he essentially did some reverse engineering of the revenue stream that would be going to the city. He was part of our finance and administration transition team, which I was the project lead, but it's really these brilliant volunteers who do the work. And so you would get people like him. You would get people like Don Griffith, who was a candidate, didn't make it through the primaries, but he has an affinity for finance. He had a small business, so he speaks finance fluently. Thanks to him, we just had an incredible meeting with Zion Bank, who has a municipal finance group. And as is the case with many of the state agencies we work with, county offices, and with them, they say, you guys are far ahead. You know more than most cities walking through
That's
this.
cool.
And that's by virtue of the talent in the Valley and the volunteers who do the work.
Yeah.
It's inspiring, to say the least.
So as you've been involved and gone through it, so you were kind of pro incorporation, then you were like, oh no, I don't know if this is a good idea after seeing the numbers, and now?
Well, it's interesting because I continue to believe it's a good idea.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
And money is always a problem. So, the feasibility study had its detractors.
Yeah.
And frankly, unfortunately, LRB, who was chosen by the LG, the lieutenant governor, to do that study, they got a lot of flack suggesting that they had a conflict of interest because they're in municipal finance, but they are professionals. And they did the projections, and again, they're projections, not fact, not current information, but they did the projections based on information given them by the state, by the county, and other sources where such information is available. And there were some projections that were off, largely due to the input of data. The most notorious one is actually the growth in sales tax revenue. The numbers that LRB was given, I think, actually reflected post-COVID growth in online sales tax sales. There had been a slowdown of the economy after the lift of COVID. Everything was gangbusters. So they were given a roughly 9% projection per year for increased sales tax. The actuals now, 4 years later, 3 years later, it's 4.5%.
Oh, wow.
So it's a big difference, but we can make it work.
Yeah.
There are other sources of finance than what were included in the transitions or in the feasibility study.
Yeah.
And so some numbers, some revenue could not be considered. It will be tight, as it is for nearly all cities when they start out, but people in the Valley can do it. Sharp management practices and business acumen can make it work. So I'm actually continuing to be positive. I personally have worked through business crises. I joined both of the companies that I worked at in-house in Chicago. This was the Tribune Company. I joined them in the 90s when newspapers were like a license to print paper. They had a huge profit margin, and they also owned broadcast TV. They owned the Cubs that don't always win, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But they went from very profitable, tightly managed company run by accountants to actually seeing the industry change. Newspapers were going downhill quite rapidly. So we went through that struggle. I then moved out to Motorola, the inventor of the cell phone. When I got there, money was flowing through the halls. And sadly, competitors ate their lunch. They didn't shift innovation in cell phone technology fast enough. When I was there, I think they had 140,000 employees at the peak. I had to do an awful lot of plant closures and layoffs and sales of businesses. I think they're now around 15,000 employees.
That's crazy.
And they're back at their core business of two-way radio safety kinds of things.
Wow.
So the bottom line is I know how to deal with a challenging financial environment. You don't know how much you can do until you're asked to do that.
Right.
Well, on the terms of the budget and the numbers, as you say, what are your thoughts on that? I feel like we've kind of answered a little bit, but do we feel like property taxes are going to go up? Do we feel like sales tax is going to help carry us?
Sales tax, I would tell people, buy locally as much as you can and online, because we get a lot from internet sales. So Amazon, it's good. Local business, better. But in terms of taxes, during the campaign period, August to November, we did a lot of research as a team. We did a lot of communications, and I saw that question and went back to something we produced last August, September. Brandy Hammond said, Brandy is an idea generator, and she said, we should get a newspaper. And then she goes on with her awesome regular work she has to do. She drops brilliant ideas, and so a couple of other people and I ran with the idea, and we produced the Ogden Valley Voice newspaper, which was prepared as a mailer and unfolded to a 4-page newspaper with lots of information on the critical questions. One of the brilliant articles written by our own Ann Ladd with a master's degree from the Medill School, an eminent journalism school in Chicago, and did some incredible writing here. And I went back, and she really looked at the tax question, and people don't understand their tax bill. I didn't, and I still don't. I brought some tax bills I pulled out this morning, tax notices. People say, oh, this will increase our taxes. Well, sadly, our taxes have been going up. The source of massive tax increases are not municipal services, which are city services. And in fact, my latest tax bill I pulled out, the city tax, it's formally called the Unincorporated Services Fund. It will now become a city tax after incorporation. That was only 1.6% of my tax bill.
Yeah.
And the pie chart that the county puts on the information, which I find very helpful, says it's actually 2% in general.
Wow.
It's a minuscule part of the city, of what you pay in taxes.
Right.
By the same token, if we were to help our residents look at their tax bill, we should sit down with them and make sure they understand everything. And we tried to do that in some of the communications, but it's not easy. It's gotten more complicated every year. So I even ran through mine this morning, and there are things I don't understand. But most of the taxes come from 4 line items for schools. I love schools. I know there's controversy because the recent Weber School District hike in part was because of a management decision they made to, I think it's perhaps a rebate or not charge certain developments, new taxes in their new areas to aid those developments. Guess who pays the difference? Our taxes went high, and that may not have been the only reason.
That's interesting. And that's rebates within all of Weber County. That's crazy.
It's a break for certain developments. And so.
But within the county, so it could be.
Yeah.
West Weber.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, some of those rebates are happening in some of the developments up in the valley. For the Nordic Valley, the Nordic development, I know that was one that the residents there were disturbed at.
Yeah.
They thought it might take money away from the city. It doesn't take money away from the city. It diverts property taxes and prompts the school district. It diverts the school portion of property taxes, not the city's property taxes.
Yeah.
But then they ask us for a massive increase, pretty big increase.
I wonder what their thought is behind rebates for developers. Is it because they're thinking maybe growing housing in certain areas and they're probably saying affordable?
I think it's a benefit, and I'm not good at the precise terminology of this.
Yeah.
It may not be a rebate, but it's a tax break.
A tax break.
It's a tax break for certain development areas. And there are other districts that do that. Other parts of the tax bill that far outshadow what this little city will get is just basic county taxes. And I note 2 entries that I understand. One is for Weber County. We're still going to be part of Weber County and pay that tax.
That doesn't change,
And I don't begrudge that. I hope they try to keep it low.
Yeah.
There's also a line item for repayment of a Weber County bond fund. And then there's a couple I don't really understand. There's something called assess and collect /county. And then there's another one called multi-county assess and collect. I only stumbled across those today. And I'm looking at those, and they are actually together perhaps more than the city tax.
Wow.
So to help our citizens keep the taxes down, we've got to take a holistic approach. I have a friend who actually worked on some of these communications, and now at candidate meet and greets, he brings his own tax bill, and he does this. Here's a quiz. What do you think my tax bill for city services is for my, I think he uses a general term, $1 million house? And they all guess. And they all guess really high. And actually, it's less than 2% of the total tax bill.
Wow.
His, I think, was like $24 a year, $30 a year. And he's one who said, when you understand this, I would be happy to pay more for superior city services.
Yeah.
I would be happy to pay more to fix the streets and fix the roads. Now, not many people are willing to say that, but even if the residents reach the decision that they want a higher level of service, you may see some of them say it's not that much and it's worth it.
Yeah, that's interesting, because some things that people don't think about is if we have our own voice within the valley, a mayor, the candidates, council members, like we have, I can't remember who brought it up, but we have the Olympics coming.
Oh,
like
big deal. Everyone should.
The mayor of our new city can then get more involved with the Olympic committee and everything like that, and be like, hey, how can we bring more revenue to our little, and make sure it's done right? And I think, and I could be wrong, I haven't researched this, but they were saying like you needed, if we weren't our own city, we couldn't really have a voice there. It would fall under the county, and the county would be maybe somebody that doesn't live up in the valley and doesn't maybe care.
Yeah, and it's natural. The county is not evil, although some people like to stigmatize them a bit.
Well, I think
it's
they live
human
in different
nature.
Yeah, they just live in different areas. Just like if, like I live in Eden, I'm I'm not as concerned what's going out in, Plain City or Far West or North Ogden, because that's
Marriott,
not
Slaterville.
Yeah, that's not my backyard or neighborhood per se, even though we are within the same county. And so
Yeah.
and the mountain range does, like, it really does kind of separate you quite a bit.
You
like
know,
I had people move from the valley over to the other
it's
side
different.
just for, like, to get out of the weather. And I'm like, it is crazy that is a
Yeah.
thing, but it is, like, the climate is even that much different.
It's that,
So,
and the air is better. But
yeah.
there are some other sources that people have told me where we get some pollution.
Yeah.
Hello, Morgan.
Right. Yeah.
But that's a point, and that was one of the primary motivators that we used for incorporating also in this newsletter a seat at the table.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Olympics. It's with our federal senators.
Yeah.
It's with the Forest Service.
Mm-hmm. Every year there's things changing
Yeah.
because I guess the state can come up with, like, hey, they make a state mandate for Utah, and then all the counties has to follow, right?
Sure.
And it could be affordable housing rule, or I don't know what it is, but you're right. Having our own city is a seat at the table in those meetings.
Yeah. And what I think is a neat thing that we can do with that seat, we have so many talented Valley people, as I said.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some citizens who actually have worked on Olympic preparations,
Yeah.
who may not be elected officials, but who are darn good negotiators and know the
Right.
recreation business.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Kirk Langford, and there are others, but to give them the ability to represent the city with, sports vendors, planners, etc.
Yeah.
is going to change what the Olympics mean for us.
Yeah. Let's jump onto a few other hot topics. Let's talk about, like, development in the valley and our general plan for the valley that was put into place in 2016. If
Yeah.
you have, I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay. The general plan is an amazing document. They say success has many parents, failure has none.
Yeah.
Well, that general plan was a success.
Yeah.
Just about everyone who touched it, and some of the people who did a lot of writing, like the Jan Fulmers, the Kimball Wheatleys, people who in my book are heroes,
Yeah.
did a lot of writing. Other people contribute, including some developers.
Yeah.
It takes everyone to chart what the future of the valley realistically will be. So I think the general plan is magnificent. Had some really good visionary ideas. It's aging.
Mm-hmm.
And a plan, vision is not written in stone. It needs to be changed as circumstances change.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing with the transition team is, and Janet Wampler may have mentioned this, we're doing some minor updates, that the area covered by that plan does exclude some areas that are now in the city. And there are other changes mandated by statute. So we're going to update it. But I'm really looking forward to, once we get the wheels on the bus for the city and things start operating, we can start another fabulous community-oriented revision to the plan. And I'd like to see Weber State involved.
Yeah.
They actually, I understand, I was told by the head of planning there, they wrote the plan for Marriott Slaterville for free.
Really?
Now, ours may be a bigger task because
Yeah.
we have to look at other mountain towns and the
Right.
like, but I'm looking forward to that. That's a major community opportunity for us to restate what our vision is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How about what's your thoughts on development in the valley?
Development, and I'm sure other candidates have said this, has to be managed by the city.
Yeah.
And development is going to happen inevitably, just like at times we'll have recession where it won't happen.
Yeah.
I've seen both things happen over the course of owning property in the valley. But the important thing is we now can manage it ourselves
Yeah.
and make it more concordant and compliant with the general plan, and really also make, I think, very good future decisions about where should we put moderate housing. We want our children, we want people who work in the valley, we want seniors to be able to stay there. So we need to do planning like that, so it's not just multi-million-dollar homes, which is a great fear that we all have.
Yeah.
But also, I'm really interested in shoring up our farms, protecting them. The farms are the key to commercial success in the valley. And unless we do some really significant life support and growth support, we really risk losing them. In terms of development, I've watched over time, people love to demonize the developers. Easy to do, easy to get cranky when they're taking away open space that we so love to look at. But also, why are farmers selling? I don't blame them. I do think we need to find other ways to make maintaining and keeping their farms much more affordable.
Yeah.
They are like, as national parks are to the United States, those farms are like our special places we have to preserve. And we have to become, the Land Trust has done a great job of trying to help. This effort needs more money, and it needs actually some faster mechanisms to really preserve those farms. Some folks I have listened to say we have maybe 5 years to really save them and preserve them. And some of the traditional techniques we've been using take too long. And I know people who have done that valiantly. Kirk Langford, who's become a friend, of course, he was 1 year ahead of me at Ogden High. I never got to see him because he was skiing on the ski team. But, Kirk told me he'd been working with one farmer for years and years, and to get them comfortable with the idea of a land trust and preserving the property.
Yeah.
We need to find ways to get more help more quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are great ideas.
Yeah.
Well, and along with that, what about short-term rentals? That's another hot button item that, I don't know, people are concerned about.
There is, people just don't like them. And I get it. You don't like them when they're next door to you in your neighborhood. And once again, some people in the valley actually had done some work on this. Jan Fulmer, once again, a community activist who's Jan seems to never forget anything and to know so much. But Jan has been watching short-term rentals for years, and a couple of Jim Bird has been doing this as well over on Old Snow Basin Road, and there was a reform done on STR regulations. I think it was in 2019 to 22. The planners reached out to some people in the valley about looking at our STR rules and regulations. I was president of the Wolf Creek Resort Master Association, the umbrella for Wolf Creek HOAs. And so I was happy to participate, and my basic idea was, I don't like them next to me.
Yeah.
And so, which is natural. But that started, I think it was like a 2-year process of a number of us advocating for STR reform and a more adequate and very well-defined regulatory system. The planners were very helpful for that. There was a little foot dragging at the top of the house by the commissioners, not sure if this was the right thing. And as most things in the valley, it got a little spicy with some people cranky over it. But eventually, the planners were absolutely how can I say, instrumental
Mm-hmm.
in bringing that to decision, and that suggested reform was adopted. And not everything was perfect. Nothing's perfect in legislation. You know, it's a sausage-making approach. So we had a pretty good statutory framework. Unfortunately, it all comes down to enforcement. And the county doesn't have perhaps enough personnel and resources to do enforcement throughout the county, maybe under-resourced. And so we could, as a city, re-examine that statute or that code provision and see if there are any things we want to change in it.
Mm-hmm.
But then the most important thing is set up an effective enforcement system. And we're undercharging for licenses compared to other cities. There is a practice of people doing this without licensing. If you go on one of the established platforms, you have to pay your tax. It goes to the county now. So it's not that they're escaping taxes if they're registered on Airbnb or one of the other places. But those who are just renting among friends and word of mouth are not generally getting licenses or paying sales tax on that. So there's a lot of reform that can be done, and also more revenue, because when people come for those Airbnbs, and I'm sure we've all done them in other locations, they're also sometimes hard on the local resources, the roads, and other things. So I think we need to make sure they pay their fair share. I'm adamant about keeping it out of neighborhoods and really looking at where is it appropriate. And it's business. We want to be a pro-business city that enables people to make a living up there and enables us to get tax revenue.
Right.
And I have a pretty innovative idea about how we can use it to help seniors.
You want to say? I want to hear.
Yeah, and the details, I brainstorm a lot, and I can't guarantee every idea coming out of left field is a really good idea, but I was really lucky to meet a wonderful, slightly older couple than me, who were multi-generational, had owned a home for many years up in the valley, and it was semi-rural, and he was interested kind of from a libertarian point of view to be able to use his property. But also, as I talked more to him and visited with his wife, it was apparent they're being costed out of the valley. That's a problem. And I started thinking about this idea then. We could think of a qualifying standard for our multi-year seniors who have been part of the tradition of the valley, who have those farms or properties that are suitable for it, to have them have a limited in time license where maybe occasionally they could do a short-term rental. And yeah, they'd have to work with their neighbors and we'd have to work through those issues, but that might help them stay in the valley. It might help them pay their taxes. And these are honorable people who love the valley, and I doubt they're going to have the wild fraternity parties and 20 cars there.
Well, because they would be on site too, managing it, right?
Yeah. They could be on site, but also one of the existing reforms we got in the STR ordinance was you need to have an available manager to come and intervene if there are problems. Yeah, and this gentleman, his son lived next door. And when you get older, you might want to go down to Arizona for a little while in the winter. But we've got to look for solutions for our seniors.
Those are good ideas.
Yeah.
I really like that.
They need more detail.
So do you have any thoughts on any amenities you would like to see in the valley?
Yeah. I have some ideas, but really it needs to be coming from the residents.
Yeah.
Some ideas I hear is something that's been promised for a long time by some of the developers.
Yeah.
We're going to get a swimming pool, an indoor swimming pool, I'm a big fan of swimming. I learned enough swimming to survive a half Ironman.
That's right.
But I really love swimming, and a lot of seniors do too. So I'd love to see a swimming pool that people can use year round. And it makes sense from a safety perspective. The lake, which realtors call it, sometimes the reservoir. I grew up calling it the dam.
Yeah.
Me too.
People do a lot of water sports up there, and it just makes sense to make sure everyone knows how to swim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And another idea.
Yeah.
I personally, and other people have voiced this, I'd love to have a fenced-in dog park. A lot of people have wonderful big dogs that are trained better than mine.
Yeah.
And they can go off leash, even though we're supposed to have leashes. I think it's a beautiful thing. My dogs, not so much.
Yeah.
They're mid-sized runners.
Yeah.
And so now, a lot of us, especially as you get older, you tend to have smaller dogs.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have some area where they can run and have fun, and we could just sit and watch them.
Yeah. No, that's a great
Yeah.
idea.
There are other things. We need a park
Yeah.
near closer to Wolf Creek.
Yeah. That's true. There's not really one up. You have Eden
Yeah.
Park and Liberty.
There are some discussions in my role as president of the Master HOA Association that are not yet ripe,
Yeah.
but we're presenting the notion to a business with money that, gee, this would be nice if you were to help create a park in the area
Yeah.
of Wolf Creek.
Yeah.
Open space. Where do kids go to play soccer? Well, there is the junior high nearby, but, how about a baseball diamond or something that's a little bit more accessible, something for little kids? The Wolf Barn property used to have a swing set and some other stuff. That's in disrepair, something we're working on that issue along with Powder Mountain.
Yeah.
Who wants to clean that up. So we'll see what comes of that.
So I think, given your background in law and everything like that, can you speak to some of the lawsuits going on?
Sure.
We have not covered that in the podcast, and I don't know what we can talk about on air and everything like that, but I'd be curious what you're open to share and talk about.
I always say it's America, and people get to sue each other. And as a lawyer, I used to make my living from that.
Yeah.
I also, though, preferred advising in-house versus walking into court, although trials are always fun.
Yeah.
It's getting there that's awful. The discovery is really tedious.
Right.
But trials are something I always enjoyed. It's like putting on a musical. It's just a wonderful thing. And sometimes you win. And so I followed those really closely. I've gone to the oral arguments as time permits. And there are 2 lawsuits going on. I say this, if this were going on in my backyard, I might end up considering that. It's a very disturbing thing for those individuals. I've even heard one developer say, if that were going on next to me, I would be really upset too. That's part of the risk of owning property in a beautiful place like the Valley. So I don't really criticize those individuals who are affected.
Sounds like one of them is with individuals and a developer that's trying to change the zoning, maybe from what was intended for that area.
The thing is, they're both against the county.
Gotcha.
And that's really hard. At one point, litigation was proposed to the sponsors, and most of them wanted nothing to do with it for a couple of reasons. As a sponsor, it was not part of their duties. Their duties were very circumscribed to what it takes to do this petition process in the election for incorporation. So actually, when I snooped around and was asked to look at some legal issues by some of the sponsors, what was apparent is they don't have standing, the official status, to bring a successful lawsuit as sponsors. They would have been tossed out of court likely for lack of standing. The other non-legal common sense issue is if the sponsors sue, or if those who are in a prominent position of dealing with the county, if the sponsors sue the county, that's kind of like biting the hand that feeds you.
Yeah.
Because they hold our monies. They hold the
Right.
snow plows.
Yeah.
We have to work with them.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
people may view them as mean people or bad people, but there are people
Yeah.
to deal with.
Yeah.
And they also still represent us. We're part of the county. So
And it's not a relationship we can get out of. We can't like, hey,
No.
Morgan County, let's go be part of.
yeah,
Let's join your
Well,
county.
Can we tag on?
Yeah.
they sit on a lot of money
Yeah.
that by law for a new city, it says the county may share income, may make a loan, it's optional.
May
May
play
means
ball.
they don't have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Things change after the point of incorporation,
Yeah.
where we're certified, which can happen as early as November, according to my legal analysis, earlier than anyone thought.
Yeah.
Then it's must. If they are collecting taxes that are attributable to us after we're a city, those will come to us.
Yeah.
But you have this big May period.
Yeah.
And I often would say, as one mentor of mine would say, it's really hard to make love and war at the same time.
Right.
So
So that's concerning.
that's concerning. And I frankly, and with all due respect, I think it's very difficult if candidates are named plaintiffs and are suing the county at the same time that we're trying to work cooperatively with the county. Any lawyers who advise defendants in a lawsuit, like the county as a defendant, will tell their clients, it's best not to talk with the plaintiffs. You're now in a different arena. And also, it's natural to be cranky at people
For sure.
when they
yeah.
sue you. And even some of the candidates whom I like and admire and their friends, you know, it's kind of put a cloud on their effectiveness at dealing with the county.
Mm-hmm.
So it shouldn't be a surprise. The good news is we have other people who are not involved in that litigation who are candidates.
Mm-hmm.
We are building a trustful relationship with the county thanks to Sean Wilkinson,
Mm-hmm.
who's the wonderful director of community development, and through the law department there, who also has an obligation for his clients to help prepare for this transition to cityhood. And frankly, that fellow lawyer and I have agreed we don't want to do this at the last minute, which will be over the holidays.
Yeah.
So we've got the go-ahead from the commissioners to start working on templates for those interlocal agreements, and we'll leave them blank until we have either the commissioners and we as candidates are more comfortable throwing some numbers in or actually coming to the table and talking. And that may occur not until after the election.
Right.
I'm hoping it's before.
Yeah.
And I think both parties need to consider whom they serve. You know, they serve the people. We share constituents.
Mm-hmm.
They represent the city as well as the rest of the county. We represent the city, and we have a common need. We need to collaborate for the good of these people.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful it will be worked through.
Yeah.
I just think when you step into a court, things change.
Yeah.
Things have consequence. Unintentional things happen.
Yeah.
And also, even with the best case, it is unpredictable what's going to come out of a court and how long it will take. Even if you were entitled to win so clearly, you may have to appeal to
Right.
get there.
Yeah.
So it takes a long time. Some of the relief that is being asked for was emergency relief.
Mm-hmm.
And in at least one suit, and I think this is the lawsuit about Nordic, I'm not sure. One is about Nordic, one's about Eden Crossing primarily. But they went in for an emergency injunction, a temporary restraining order, where a plaintiff will go in and say, horrible things are about to happen. You need to stop it right away. And they can't be fixed by money. They're irreparable harms. That motion was made and denied on that case. More recently, motion for preliminary injunction, the next step of how to get an injunction, get the action to stop that you're trying to stop before a trial. That motion was made by capable counsel for the plaintiffs and was denied. You know, there were 4 criteria the judge articulated that are required for a preliminary injunction. And he just went through, none of these 4 was met.
Gotcha.
Done. And so the choice is you guys go ahead to trial. He didn't dismiss the case altogether, but his decision about the primary legal theory on which the plaintiffs rely basically gutted that legal theory. It was a very creative extension of the law by the attorney, and I applaud him for really creative application of the law. But it would be a stretch. In the judge's decision on the the judge's decision on the preliminary injunction pretty much eviscerated the theory on which the plaintiffs are relying.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they are, on that case, they now filed an interlocutory, I'm having trouble stuttering on old legal words. Now, they filed in the last few days an interlocutory appeal, which is saying, look, this issue is so important, we can't wait for a trial, so Supreme Court, will you take this unique question of law and rule on it? Again, that's a really hard thing to succeed at.
Yeah.
Otherwise, trials would go up and down the appeal process.
Right.
And so, it's a stretch if they can get the court
But
to
they're
say.
trying.
They're trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Ironically, though, the relief they're requesting, which is to stop the county, one of the wonderful guys who's raising funds for that has called all the candidates and wants them to join in. And I love talking to this gentleman. I respect him. And I said, I'm really working full board on starting up this city. That's taking all my energy and time. But he said, now, well, what are you doing to stop the county? And I said, I'm starting up the city. The better and the sooner we do that, that's gonna shift land use planning authority from the county to us. And that could be as soon as mid-November.
Right.
So let's get that startup going right and strong and prepare for that.
Do you have concerns once we're a city, how the new city can be liable for lawsuits?
Well, as I say, it's America, and anyone can sue for anything, and they might get fees assessed against them. But I do have a concern. One of my concerns, you had a question about what are concerns I have about the valley.
Yeah.
One is we have to stop inter-valley warfare.
Yeah.
People are suing each other. People, when they found the feasibility study, may have overestimated some things.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to sue the lieutenant governor, or we're going to sue this or that. Put down, okay, here's the Utah State Code, and I bring this as an exhibit to show I've been doing the work, but also it makes an impressive demonstration. Now, people in this day and age, and I don't know whether it's Perry Mason through LA Law, through whatever legal show you like. Matlock, I really love, the new Matlock. That's another story. But people are really immersed in legal matters.
Yeah.
And one reason I'm really committed to hopefully being elected is I think we need a real lawyer at the table, because I hear a lot of things where people will say, legally, we can't do that. Oh, that's against the law. And this happened to me when I was in-house VP of law and other stuff. You know, I'd go to meetings and people would say, you can't do that. And they weren't lawyers. And the really good lawyers will say, well, there's likely a lawful way to do something. And often, I grew up with wonderful mentors that pointed out often the legal solution actually provides a business solution. So people are too quick to say, let's sue.
Yeah.
It should be the very last resort, and it should be undertaken after all other avenues are exhausted.
How do we get people united in this effort? Because it seems like we're all, I mean, if we were to align, directions, I think we're all trying to get to a similar destination.
Absolutely.
Like nobody's wanting to completely destroy the valley. Everybody is like, there's going to be some development. Things are going to change a little bit, but how can we do it responsibly?
This is one of the things I think is one of my primary goals, besides setting up the city on fiscally sound basis so we can remove the snow and pick up the trash.
Yeah.
I think we really need to look and plan and take action to build a city culture, a valley culture that's the best of what the valley holds, and try to overlook, the differences we may have. Build from strength, build on agreement, and frankly, we have to be patient and listen to each other, because it's so easy to give an initial reaction and say, that's awful.
Yeah.
Liberty wants to do this, and Eden and Wolf Creek, they're all those new people from California. Yeah. A few of them, but not all.
Well, it's funny too, because I have clients that have moved from California, and a lot of them have very similar values and standards and everything. And the reason they're leaving is because they're like, that's not for us.
They no longer align.
They align more with the values that we see in our community. And so it's, a lot of those people, just like you were saying, one of the main sponsors, he'd only been here a year and a half. And he's like,
and he got it done.
Yeah. This is impressive.
He's the project manager.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah. And, and it took the longtime Valley people as well who were prominent.
Yeah. Sometimes you need the fresh eyes and it's impressive.
I also want to merge the divide between newer arrivals and multi-generational people.
Yeah.
I've gone through, when I was sorting with others, volunteer lists in January, February, we had over 180 volunteers who wanted to help the transition. Awesome. I didn't know them all. So I had a broader team sit down and go through what these people were requesting to do and what were they known to be good at. And what emerged is one of the folks who was multi-generational said, there are no Valley people here. And I said, what? All these people I think live in the Valley. And then it occurred to me, I said, oh, you mean multi-generational Valley folks. And so if I were multi-generational like you all are, I'd be very proud of it. But also I want a mindset that all of us are Valley people. My dear mother who lived with us for the last 7-8 years of her life to the age of 109 months. She just passed away this summer. It was a joyful life. I wrote an article for the Valley News and intentionally was writing about, she was a Valley girl. And I talked about her childhood, her mother coming up for the artesian water, her coming up as a child, they'd hitchhike and hopefully get to Patio Springs, the original pool, which was so wonderful.
Yeah.
All that history of my grandmother coming there, my mother, And she really didn't live there until she was 95 and moved in with us. But I want to point out, even that girl who grew up on Wall Avenue was a Valley girl. And so we're all Valley people, and we need to get a unified vision, with the general plan is a very good statement of. And we need to really build on what unites us rather than when we happen to move to the Valley or other issues, you know, whether it's background, profession, whether you're a farmer or too many lawyers. We have too many lawyers often. You know, some of the most talented people I'm seeing, by the way, are some of the farmers. And I'll give a shout out to one of the candidates who's just a refreshing surprise, Abe Wangsgard. And Wangsgard is I don't know if I say it right, Wainsgard, we used to say, like the grocery store. That's an old Valley family. And Abe shows up, and you think, that's cool, he's running for office. And then you have to listen to him. This guy not only farms and showed up to our roundtable of agricultural farmers to talk about how to sustain farming in the Valley, which we held in May. Abe also knows how to plow the streets. He actually has done everything from plowing the snow, and I think it's Kaysville that he works for, to being in management positions and knowing a lot, soup to nuts, about how you get things done.
Wow.
And that just was a reminder to me that these people carry a lot of knowledge, and we have a lot of talent. And here he is, an old Valley guy, and, you know, us newbies who owned there since 2002, we can learn a lot from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just been delightful to work with him and some of the other candidates.
Well, I liked what you said in the beginning. You were kind of, for a minute, you were like, I don't know if we can pull off the incorporation. And then you started meeting the people that were stepping up to the plate. And that's been cool doing these podcasts, because it's like, wow, there's a lot of really cool people. Volunteering and getting involved and everything like that. It gives you a lot of confidence in like the future of what's happening.
And that's true of every single one of those candidates. And I feel sorry that for the candidates who didn't make it through, because we're hoping they remain involved.
Yeah.
Guys like Don Griffiths,
Yeah.
who was in District 5, some great candidates there. He didn't make it through.
Yeah.
And he had a really good story. He continues to work on this gap financing to help set up the city.
Oh.
Yeah,
And when we had a candidate university on August 23 to give lots of information from the transition team to the candidates, he showed up and talked about gap financing, but he also said, I'm still here to work. Wow. And my wife sat me down, and I was a little sad I didn't make it through the election, but she and I agreed, we all have to make sure this city is successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's plenty of work to be done.
Oh,
so.
Yeah.
So how do you recommend residents get involved today?
Okay. There are, there is the ability still on the Ogden Valley Incorporation website to sign up to volunteer. On some of these transition teams, some of the work has already robustly started, and it's kind of hard to step in, but keep your eye on that. Read. We usually have an article in every issue of the Ogden Valley News. Call some of the people who are project leaders. We post our phone numbers and love to hear from people. We have ways they can help.
Have you heard from many residents reaching out to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Within the last few months, from some people in our district, we have one fellow who's stepped forward and said, I can help you with insurance. We need insurance because we'll likely get sued at some point. That's one of my concerns. Another fellow who had a very sophisticated background in project management, finance, IT, volunteered. And actually, he said, I'm used to working with more complex things. And so, but he still had very useful insights, and we're running ahead doing the simpler things, but he'll be great to advise on the more complex things. So people are asking, how can they get involved? And the other thing is, all these candidates need volunteers. So I'd say get involved with candidates, because by working with them and also by going to the candidate forums, you'll learn more about what the city's involved in. And also, I want to start, when I'm doing my own campaign this time until the general election, I'm going to pilot a community survey when I go door knocking and online to get community feedback. And I say pilot because I would like to see the new city robustly use surveys and opinion and create forums where people can be heard and can give their advice to the city and not view the city elected officials as it's them.
Yeah.
It needs to be us.
Yeah.
It needs to be us. So
I didn't even think about that. So residents could volunteer with, say, you and be like, hey, how can I help your campaign?
Yeah. As you can tell, also, part of the campaign is I talk a lot about what will be required of the new city.
Yeah.
The legal requirements, the taxes, all the exhibits I brought along to show. But it's a great way to learn.
Right.
And as I say, the learning curve can be pretty stiff. You know, I'm still looking at my tax bill this morning, realizing I don't know what these charges are. So
find out, though.
It's a way to start learning about the city.
That's awesome. Well,
ask me the billboard question.
Okay, let's go for it.
I like the billboard.
Cut the tape. Now pretend like we didn't say that.
All right, so let's say you have the only billboard in the valley. What would you put on it?
I would take it down. Thank you for asking that.
What if you had
this is very funny,
though?
but
I mean, we have these.
I want to make a point. Yeah, I'd pass out M&Ms, but no. I prepared some notes on this. I was recruited to serve on the legal committee of Scenic America. One of our Valley people, Janet Muir, is prominent in that community. Janet also was instrumental in starting the Dark Sky in the Valley. Scenic America is a national organization that seeks to take the clutter of billboards away. And they run into big companies who like to have their big billboards. And there's a place for that, you know, like in the middle of a city or
on the freeway,
near exits. I didn't realize there was regulation. There's certain rules about how close to an exit you can do billboards.
Oh, wow.
So, but they're a group that works nationwide to, quote, reduce billboard proliferation and visual spite. And it aligns with what our valley is so known for, is scenic views and open spaces.
Yeah.
Not commercial clutter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
From the website. But if I were to have a message, maybe on a web page or something.
There you go.
It would be something that arose out of the campaign. Our valley, our voice. So resonates so well. The source of that statement, it's again, you know, something successful always has many parents. Something not often is an orphan. But this one is extremely successful, and I traced it the other day. Brandy Hammond and her brilliant marketing team came up with My Valley, My Voice, or Your Valley, Your Voice. And this was before we had a campaign, but that's catchy. I've seen that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I've seen Your Voice, Your Vote to get people to vote. When we had about 20 campaign volunteers do their messaging workshop, we had a bunch of messages we just throw on the wall and then we voted. And we went back to the valley/voice term, but we all decided we wanted our valley, our voice. Again, expressing the unity that we need in our valley.
Yeah.
So I love our valley, our voice. It's easy. Looked good on campaign signs, for sure.
Also kind of matches with Ogden Valley, you know. As a kid, I had a friend who would like make up little raps and everything. And
very cool.
one of his raps included OV, Ogden Valley baby, because that's where we're from.
That is very cool. I have a question of you, and I don't like to get this question. It's a very common question, but I want to see what you say. What do you think the new city should be named? Has anyone brought that up?
We've talked about it a little bit. There's so many different options. I think there's valid reasons why they want to separate the valley from Ogden Valley. We are separated, and there's a mountain between us, and that it's okay to want to be separated from that, in my opinion. But I don't mind Pine View. I've seen that one in the newspaper. It kind of, we think of Pleasant View, and Pine View is what the valley has smack dab in the center of it. We all surround it. So like, I don't feel like that one's a bad one, in my opinion.
Good. Do you have any idea?
Hell Valley.
I love that.
I'm just kidding.
I have,
There's Death Valley. Why not Hell Valley?
I have one.
What's yours?
It's ugly, don't move here.
Yeah.
Valley.
You won't like it.
Yeah.
We'll just call it
It's
that.
miserable. We're all miserable.
Well, it is. We were talking yesterday with Chelsea, and we're like, it's like Iceland and Greenland. Like Iceland is actually really nice. Greenland's actually really cold.
It's funny. I
And
never thought it.
it's like, it'd just be funny if you're like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to hell.
Yeah.
Don't visit here.
Yeah. There's the Hell Fitness that they opened
Yeah.
up. Huntsville, Eden, Liberty is where they came up with
Yeah.
that. I don't know. It's
That's
hard.
been around a long time too.
That
Like,
has been around.
funny.
when
for-
I was a
yeah.
kid, we
Really?
like there was
that
a
long?
group that was runners from hell.
Oh, really?
That would do like the marathons and
Yeah.
stuff. So like, it's been around since I was a kid.
And
so.
and the official valley animal could be the Hellcats.
There you
That
go.
would be cool.
I wonder if it would be cool to just come up with something totally off script. Like you have like Midway and Heber City and like some of these other Park City.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it'd be interesting because I've heard Pineview, I've heard Snowcrest.
I've heard that, and I think that's a nice name.
Yeah.
I'll speak for history
Yeah.
and say for a long time it's been known as Ogden Valley.
It has,
Yep.
So
Would you change it?
if people want to change it, I'd change it. I would say though,
It's like changing your name though. Like
yeah, we go to court,
call
file.
me, I know, but it's just weird though. Like let's
Getting married.
It's like
We're marrying
Whitney,
a new
like
name.
okay, Whitney's now Sarah, and it's like I just don't know.
Well, I'm so
Like-
used to
I don't know if
saying
that
I
fits
live
me.
in.
yeah,
That's the thing. We got to find something that fits.
I'm so
right?
used to.
I don't know if it'll ever fit though.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, it was always going up to the valley, Ogden
Yeah.
Valley, and down here it was Ogden, Lower Ogden Valley, or just Ogden.
Or O-Town.
I have family though. I have family that live in Draper,
Yeah,
and I say Valley, and they think it means Draper. I'm like, no,
that's
it's.
interesting.
But everybody thinks, and like I'm from Morgan, so I'm not
Ah,
like native to the Valley, but
you're close enough.
but we called Morgan like the Valley.
Yeah. Everybody had their own little valley.
Everybody has,
We're
like,
in
a
the
little-
mountains.
Well, I think that's
Maybe
good.
we just call it our Valley.
Our valley, Oval, or
Oval.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Silky
I
the
just
OV.
don't know.
Oval.
I do think.
Yeah,
Man,
OV.
I respect people who want to work on that name, but I say we got
Oh,
bigger
there's-
fish to
oh,
fry.
for sure,
I'm
yeah.
very, let's get the wheels on the bus. As they
Yeah,
say.
Yes.
yeah. But it would. I don't even know how you do that. You do a big survey and like whoever. What?
Yeah, I think there are, and I think it would be fun to have a contest.
Yeah.
You know, we have a committee called City Culture, and they were going to do contests for songs, flags,
Yeah.
the official fish of the valley.
Oh.
You know, parade. What are
Yeah.
these celebrations? Someone last night suggested we need another dog parade for
Yeah.
the whole, or pet parade.
Yeah.
But have a contest and then let people vote in a pretty decent way.
Yeah.
Some people have tried polls on Facebook, but if you watch it, there's one group that are primarily from Eden, and guess what they wanted to call the new city? Eden.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is hard because
Yeah.
that is the center of the town. Like,
It could be Eden Valley. Like I mean, I don't know. There's not a right or a wrong. Really.
Eden is a very pretty name.
Yeah.
Well,
On
yeah.
its own, it stands very nicely.
Yeah.
But let's get the other fish fried and done.
It's so hard to name
this isn't
something though.
the first 100 days issue.
Yeah.
It's like trying to name a kid. It's like, man, you're stuck with this forever. Like
it's really hard.
This kid, I know a kid who
exactly,
I just didn't like, so we don't want to name him
Except
that.
you have to do it with everybody in the valley, not just like two parents.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very
But
hard.
it's going to be exciting to see where we land.
Yeah.
So, well, let's wrap up. Why do you think you're the right person for the job?
Okay. My campaign motto, so to speak, and I'll
Is that this?
show my sign.
There you go.
This was suggested by a friend, a retired trial attorney who's really good with words. He said, Kay, you're qualified, experienced, and tested. And, qualified, too many decades of being an attorney, but also being in a business leadership role and, taking bars. I've been barred in 3 different states, and that doesn't mean blocked, but having a bar and being able to practice. Most recently, I took the bar in 2021 in Utah because I wanted to do pro bono work. I wanted not to hide and say, but I don't have a license. I wanted to do it with a license, and I also wanted to blow off the cobwebs. So I passed that, and that's part of the basis I like to carry around law books. Like
That's
this one.
awesome.
Experience is, I've worked in law firms, corporations, all kinds of experiences, but I also learned a lot volunteering. One of the best experiences I had was being a teen mom when my boys were in high school, and you learn how to organize food and volunteers. So lots of experience, trial work, all kinds of experience. I've gone toe-to-toe with judges. I've had to work with CEOs. Sometimes that's happy. Sometimes not so happy, but it's tough. Judges, I've dealt with all kinds of folks, and I am tested. Yes, I did take and pass the bar in 3 states, but also I've gone through good times and hard times with various organizations. And so I come out at the other end having learned more and hopefully having got us through a struggle. Like startup. Startup was going to be hard no matter what we do. So that's my qualifications. And, I submit that's a pretty good profile for starting up a brand new city.
That's a very steep mountain to climb.
Yeah.
And it's been cool. Like, I think a lot of the people, I found it interesting because a lot of the people that are running are like, I didn't think I would ever, it's not like they were running for Weber County. So I feel like a lot of the
One
the
of
people,
them did, but one ran for Weber County Commissioner.
Yeah. And then the rest, it seems
The rest is a new thing.
Yeah. And they're like, I never thought I'd be doing this, but I feel the duty to do this, and I have the skill set to step in.
They do. Yeah.
So it's been really cool
Yeah.
watching all of that and seeing it unfold and connecting with everybody, because the valley's small, but it's actually still pretty big, and like we don't know everybody, and that's why we thought this podcast would be helpful. It's like one more way that people can connect with you. That's not like, they could watch this at 11 o'clock at night and like get to know kind of your story and your background and everything,
Which is
like that.
great.
Yeah.
I probably put them to sleep by now, so I hope I was of service.
No, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
So if people are still listening, where can they go to learn more about you? I guess we have your website, kforcounsel.com, and we'll put that in the show notes.
Thank you. And
You can put your email if you'd like.
yeah, so I have a campaign email, but I
Okay.
really like to use my personal.
Yeah.
It's just my name, Kay Hoogland, Hoogland, at mac.com.
Okay.
So that's the first place I look every morning. And I have a Facebook, which is so convenient for many people. Kay Hoogland for Counsel. I caution people against politics by Facebook because there are some crazy conversations that are going on in the Valley. But it's a good place to just chat and get information. Also, at my website, you can sign up for a newsletter.
Oh,
and
that's
it's
cool.
kind of fun. I love writing.
How often do you send that out?
Before the probably about every couple of weeks. I try not to overwhelm people, and it will get more frequent as the election period proceeds. I call it From the Campaign Trail, and I try to make it short, which is really hard for a lawyer.
Yeah.
We get paid by the word.
Yeah.
No, not really. The best writing is brief writing. It just takes me a long time to write short pieces, but
Yeah.
it's brief and timely and not just what's happening on the campaign
Yeah.
trail. You know, it's like talking about these when I attend the court hearings and what happens there and other information of note. So,
No, that's
yeah.
awesome.
And don't hesitate to call or email, and all the contact is on my website.
Well, perfect. Well, we will put all that in the show notes. Any last final thoughts you'd like to share with the listeners before we?
Yes. All of the candidates are fabulous, and I feel honored to run for the same seat as Fred Blickley. I first met Fred. We were both volunteering, pulling Dyer's Woad. And from then on, you know, I really enjoy him, and I'm happy he's thrown his hat in the ring. But I also think he and I exemplify the level of respect and cooperation and collaboration. We work together on projects. And one of the most exciting things, and I think it's a unique Valley thing, is we actually have all 12 candidates, 6 of whom are running against the 6 others, collaborating on weekly meetings.
Yeah.
We call it candidate committee meetings, but also we are incorporating them and integrating them into these transition teams. And so they're gung-ho about getting work done, and it's a wonderful thing. Where else could that happen?
Yeah.
People running against each other, you know, would work
Unify.
together, so cooperative, and I think we're united by our love for the Valley. It's
Love
a good
it.
thing.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
It
No,
really
that's
does.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for jumping on. This
You're
has been
welcome.
awesome.
And thank you guys for providing this forum.
Yeah.
It's so helpful, I think,
You're
to
welcome.
let candidates speak, let the public hear in a more informal format.
Mhm.
So thank you.